What's up, Daddy? It's E White, and we out here with the On the Mic podcast. Appreciate you chilling.
On the Mic podcast.
Okay, do you want to introduce yourself, like little intro and like what you do and all that, and who you all, and yeah.
Sure. Okay, cool. My name is E White. It's E like the letter, white like the color. I am a personality for iHeartRadio, iHeartMedia. My main station's 101.3 KDWB here in Minneapolis. I'm on like 10 other stations across the country. Yeah, man, kind of what I do. I yell on the microphones and I get paid for it. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's good. We all love that. It's awesome. Now the first question is, when you were a kid, did you even imagine you would be in radio today?
So I honestly, radio was never something I like wanted to do. It just kind of ended up how it ended up. I went to school for photography, and I had some friends who were photography people and everything, and I hung out with them a ton. But then I got to know some people who were on the college radio station, and they were just way like more laid back and chill than the photography people, and they judged me way less. So I started hanging out with them more, and they were like, dude, you got like a fun personality. You should like hop on the microphone. I was like, sure, I'll try it out. So I started doing college radio, and that's when I kind of figured out I was like, this is kind of sick, because I love like comedy, I love stuff like that, like stand up and everything, and radio is just kind of like a tightened version of that.
Yeah.
So if I can like do that and like still find a way to like express myself and be creative about it, and now with radio the way it is, where it's so front facing because of just like social media and everything, I was like, cool, I could just kill all the birds with one stone. So radio just kind of became what I went after, man. So yeah,
That's good. Okay. And then how did you get into the radio industry?
So going back to the whole, college radio thing, we tried to do some stuff through the school and everything, and just got to know some good people. And I ended up trying to get my first internship when I was in college. And I was between a photography internship with a soccer team, MLS team, and I was also interviewing for a rock station for WMMR in Philly. It's a Beasley station. And so I was interviewing for that, and they were talking about all the perks and everything, and they were like, hey, you can get concert tickets. I was like, what? Yeah, no, I want to do that. So like literally just off of like, hey, it would be cool to just hang around like musicians and stuff like that, because I grew up playing music and everything. I was like, this sounds way better. And so one thing led to another, and that's how I started my first internship. And I went from there, and I had a friend that was interning at iHeart, and he was like, hey, you should, also try to apply here and everything, and kind of an example of not what you know, but who you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just ended up in a really good spot with there. And then I did like, some blogs and stuff like that, and, random internship stuff. And, because they make you do everything when you're an intern. They're just like, hey, just go organize shelves, go do this, go do that. You're just basically like kind of a do person. And so I ended up doing some production, because they were like, hey, you got a decent voice, like do some commercials. And I shared a studio with the PD at the time, Jared Fallon of Q102, the pop station. And he was like, you ever think about getting on the air? And like, mind you, I interned at a rock station. You probably figure out what I listen to in my spare time. It's not Selena Gomez and like, Miley Cyrus and Ariana Grande. So I was like, I don't know if this is for me, man. I don't know if this is my vibe. And he's like, well, if you change your mind, let me know. And so I called my mom, and I was just like, hey, like Jared just talked to me about maybe getting on the air. And she was like, well, what did you say? And I said, I don't know if I want to do it. And she's just like, are you stupid or are you dumb? Like, what are we doing here? So she was like, you go into that office and you change your mind very quickly. I was like, okay, cool, fine. And so I did, and I did a weekend show on Q102 for a little bit, sent that tape everywhere. Ended up in Des Moines, Iowa for my first job, which Iowa is very different than Philadelphia. So like, that was definitely a shock for sure. And eventually something opened up here in Minneapolis, and here we are.
Yeah.
In Twin Cities, baby. It's still cold in March. Make it make sense.
Awesome. I like that.
Yeah, man.
It's awesome. You all like where you are today and all that. Awesome. I like it.
It worked out really well, man. Seriously. Never thought it would end up this way, but it's pretty sweet. I like it here a lot. It's cool.
That's good. And then what do you like about getting to work for iHeart?
So iHeart really gives you, I think they give you a platform to at least the freedom to like explore platforms. Like they encourage it, right? It's one of those things where, you have company mandated stuff. Every company does, right? You got to give a shout out to this, shout out to that, and whatever. But the one thing I love about iHeart is that they are really passionate about being multimedia. It's iHeartMedia, right? Yeah. They don't just say iHeartRadio anymore. So, it's like focusing on things like I really love doing TikTok. I really love doing like tons of videos like that and everything. They encourage that. They're just like, hey, this is a great idea. This is a fun bit. If you can make it on social media then draw people back to the radio station, that's fantastic. So that's what I try to do all the time, man. So they really let me kind of, do the things that I'm already passionate about and do it even more so because they're just like, hey, just have fun, just go with it. So yeah, there's pros and cons to every company, but like iHeart's been really good to me for the most part.
That's
I'm
good.
not just saying that because I'm being recorded and talking about radio, but like honestly, iHeart's been very good to me. So
that's good.
Yeah,
that. That's awesome. Good that they've been good to you and all that, and that love your job and all that. That's awesome.
Yeah, man. No, it's great. I mean, that's the biggest thing, right? Is just making sure you love your job and making sure that the people do right by you, right? And so, just keeping tabs of that too. Just making sure like they are still doing right by you, and if they stop that, you're just like, hey, so can we work on this? Can we fix this real quick before I gotta break somebody's kneecaps? No, I'm kidding.
I love that. And then, what do you like about getting to be on the station KDWB? What do you like about that?
So KDWB is kind of like one of those stations a lot of people talk about as like a legendary station, right? It is like the way you talk about like the New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox and like all those like legendary baseball teams. Kind of the same way with KDWB. It's like in that pantheon with like Kiss in LA and Z100 and Y100 in Miami. It's just like a station that's been around for a long time and there's been so much success here with it. And Minnesota is just a place where there's a lot of passionate people. Yeah. And I think that's something that really adds to the essence of the radio station, right? And the essence of the market. Minnesotans have a saying, not even a saying, it's like a hashtag. They say hashtag one of us, right? They love when people like lean into the culture of Minnesota. So that's what I did when I moved here. And like really quickly people started, I wouldn't say quickly, it took a little bit of time, but like, eventually people started like, kind of buying into what I'm putting down and everything, right? Yeah. And so that, is the greatest part about this station is that because it's been around for so long, people can see through your BS a little bit more. So like, they know when you're being like a real person or being like a really like, stand up kind of person. So, they're there for you and they're there to make sure, you know what you're doing. So, and KDWB is one of those things. And Dave's been here forever. Our morning show guy, Dave Ryan, he'll be 30 years in January, which is crazy. So wow. He's a great guy to learn. Yeah, he's a great guy to learn from. Everybody else on the station's really great. So yeah, I don't have anything. I don't have any complaints at all. I mean, it's a little cold. I'm not going to lie. Like it's cold from November to May. So, we get like maybe a couple months of warmth, but otherwise it's great for sure. So
that's awesome. I like that.
Yeah. A little different than you in Arizona. I mean, you're just like sweaty all the time for sure. How hot is it there today?
It's like, I think like in the maybe 70s now. It's like going to be getting in the 80s pretty soon. So
I would kill for that right now. 70 sounds incredible, bro. It's not going to be 70 until June here. Like we'll get one thing. It's so funny. Like everybody always says like Minnesota has 11 seasons and it's like 4 of them are different winters. So we're in third winter right now and then we're going to get spring for like a month and then we're going to have a random snowstorm in May and it's going to make everything gross again. It's going to suck.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, man, it's wild for sure.
That doesn't sound too fun.
No, it's all right. We are it.
That's good. And what do you like about getting to work with your coworkers? What do you like about that?
Yeah, so like I said, Dave's been here forever, man. I mean, he's a legend in the business. Anytime I have a question, he is so willing to help me. I didn't mention it at the front, but like I do a show called E12 and Rach, where it's like a weekend morning show, which I'll probably touch on a little bit later. But he is one of our main coaches. It's like Dave and then maybe 2-3 other people that ever like really touch our stuff. And to have somebody like Dave who has been doing it forever and been doing it successfully forever is awesome. It's really, really cool. And just, it's great to learn from them. And then like just camaraderie wise, like there's some good people in this building, especially iHeart Minneapolis. Yeah. There's just, it doesn't matter what station, all the people are just super chill. I can go down to the guys over at the country station and just like, chop it up with them for like an hour and just, cause a ruckus. It's always a good time. So yeah, for sure. Great.
Awesome. I like that. And then what do you like about getting to like do a show from like 6 to midnight? What do you like about that?
So yeah, it's different. I think you get a little bit more. I've told people this before. You get a little bit more of like a raw, type of person, right? Like they're like people are a lot more, I'd say, loose with their opinions after a certain time. You know what I mean? So it's just like if you're listening at like 11 o'clock in the afternoon, everybody's like, work. They're kind of buttoned up. They're kind of like, just nose of the grindstone, right? If it's 7, 8 o'clock, people are at the bar. They're hitting stuff up. They're like, going a little, a little wild, partying a little bit more. So I get more like the people that are calling in. They're just like, it's kind of out of their element a little bit. And it's just always good because if I'm doing like a call topic or like I'm doing like something where I want people to call in, I can catch them a little off guard and they're good. You know what I mean? They're good to go and they're down to do something. So I love that. I don't want to do nights forever because like I think that's just like, I don't know if I want to keep up with that schedule of working till midnight until I'm, when I'm like 40. So like, when I have like, a different lifestyle and everything, maybe that'll switch up. But for now, it's great. And again, it's just another way I've been able to build my personality because again, there's a little bit more freedom at nighttime. So I get to like just kind of try some stuff out and, there's not as many consequences. So it's kind of nice. I won't lie. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
I like that.
For sure.
Good that you enjoy doing that. And like you get like kind of the interesting people too a little bit.
Yeah,
so that's
man. I do some weird stuff, man. I saw you talk to Nugget, and like I know Nugget does the same thing. Like because he and I kind of have a very similar like. There's a new age of like radio DJ, right? Where it's like less so like back in the day, it was like the guy you wanted to date or like the girl you wanted to date and everything, and they were just trying to be like all like weird and flirty and awkward, and it was gross and everything. And now it's just a bunch of like awkward people that go to therapy and stuff, and we're just like, hey, what's your trauma? How about you tell me yours and I'll tell you mine? It's great. Like, just hope for best. So it's fun that way for sure. So I love that there's this new like age of radio DJ. It's a little bit more a little bit more laid back, I would say. It's cool.
Yeah. And so like I like the little segment. I'm not sure. I think he's still doing it like JoJo from think like he does like that like little therapy segment or something like where he like asks like people to like call in or something like that like like 4:30 therapy or something like that.
So I do something called Drama Check on Wednesdays where I just like, hey man, whatever you got to vent about, just tell me. I'm not a licensed therapist, but I'm close and I skipped my therapy this week. Why don't we all just bond together about this? So like that's an easy way to do it. I do like random topics all the time and stuff like that. My mind's always like running on like, hey, like what can we do to make this more fun than it was the day before, right? So, yeah.
That's good. Like that. Then do you think going to college is important to be a radio DJ?
I don't think you need it, but like I do know that college did help me get in the situation because like I got the internships because of people I met in college, right?
Yeah.
So like I think it was less so the actual work of college and more so just meeting who I met. So like it's really a right place, right time situation more than anything else. Radio is not a career you need college for. Josh Martinez at Z100 in New York, he is very open about the fact that he dropped out of college after a month and like he's on one of the biggest radio stations in the world, right?
Yeah.
He's somebody who, is kind of the mold of like, hey, in 2023, you don't need college to be, like whatever you're doing in life. And I think like that's just in general, right? Like you can go to like a trade broadcasting school and like get 2 years of experience and go do something. You could go and you could just like, hey, I'm out of college. I want to work. I want to like get like, my like engineering license or I don't even know, like electrician's license or whatever. And you're just like, hey, I want to work at a radio station part-time. Like that's totally feasible, right? So I love that radio doesn't require college. Just like it requires more experience. But like, if you're somebody who doesn't know what they want to do, I think it works and you can go to college and like do what I did where it's like I went to school wanting to be a skateboard photographer and I came out of it being a radio DJ. Like that's totally possible. So, it just depends on the person, but I don't think it's necessary.
Like that. Then do you think interning is also helpful? Like for like not going to college, do you think interning like is good?
I think it's like when there's less and less internships like nowadays, right? And a lot of the internships do come through college credit and everything. So I do think just any form of like, internship is always great, right? It's meant to benefit you no matter what. So interning is super important. Interning also shows people that like, hey, they kind of know what this is about, right? But like it's also super important that once you're interning, you're in there and you're always present. I tell people that all the time, like you're always present. assistant. You are in the break room getting coffee. You're in a studio working on something. If somebody needs help for an event, if it's your freaking, second cousin's birthday on a Saturday, you might have to skip your second cousin's birthday to go to like do an event or something.
Yeah.
Like if you want it bad enough, you can find your way into it. So like, and internships are a great way to start that. But, if there's no internships in your town, then a great way to do it is to just be like, hey, I want to like check out radio and something. I'm going to apply for like a part-time gig during the summer to be a street team member. And then like all you need to do is like come in, shout it up with some people, just be like, hey, what's up? I'm E White. Nice to meet you. I'm trying to do this. And then somebody's going to be like, hey, that's really cool. I might not have something for you, but somebody else might. So it's just, everybody in this business wants to help out somebody because they like want to feel important for a second. And then there's people who like genuinely want to help too. And like, no matter what, they're whether it's a ulterior motive or not, they're there to help you. So at the end of the day, it's, just if you have an internship, amazing, awesome. Just make sure you use it right.
That's good. And I also like Yummy Hits Radio is doing. I thought they have a few younger people on the station, and they're doing a pretty good job and all that.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's awesome that they get that chance, right? That's really, really cool. I wish I had that when I was 16, bro. I was a camp counselor when I was 16. Like, I would have been sick. But yeah, no, it's cool. Whatever way they can make it happen, that's sick. I love that. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's awesome that like they're independent like station, and that they can like kind of like go but like do like whatever they want to or something like that.
Yeah, there's a little bit more freedom, I would say, at that point. There's a little bit more liability in place with some of these bigger companies. So yeah, for sure.
And then what do you like about getting like connect with the listeners and all that? What do you like about that?
Connecting with listeners is everything. It's the reason I do it. At the end of the day, my goal is to just be a vessel for things going on in like, the city and everything. And so, my literal job is not to be a radio DJ, is not to be, a social media personality. My job is to be a reliable source. Yeah. And so whether that be with just like, with like comedy stuff and like, just like doing segments and like making people laugh and stuff, or if that's like, hey, this is happening in the cities, or like, hey, something's going down here. Like I was in Minneapolis when the George Floyd situation happened. And so like that was something where it was so important for me to be a reliable source for the listener. That way they're aware of like what's happening downtown, right? Yeah. Because they were shutting down streets. They were shutting down highways. There were curfews in place. And it's like, hey, just so you know, if you didn't see this, curfew starts at 9 o'clock. Or like, hey, in case you didn't see this, they're shutting down the highway for a protest. It's like things like that. So like being like engaging with listeners and being like, a source for the listeners is everything. And the moment you forget about that and you think, hey, I'm just being cool and I'm being a local celebrity, you should quit. Like you should just like stop your job because you're in it for the wrong reasons. Yeah. And that will eventually come through. So stop while you're ahead. So like just if you are a person that, is just like, hey, I want to be famous. Hey, I want to be this. Hey, I want to be that. Change your perspective while you still can. It's because like this is, they realistically, like, they will care about you if you in turn care about them. And, it's not, they don't need to care about you. You need to care about them. Yeah. So, yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, man.
And then do you have any like tips or anything? Like getting hired for iHeart?
For iHeart? I mean, just like in general, iHeart, I would say it's great to be good on the air. It's way better to be good on the air and also be good on social media and also be good on, at like, doing things that are fun, creative, and different. And that's not just for iHeart. That's any other company, right? Yeah. There are some companies, like smaller companies, that do old school radio and do it well. Hubbard's one of them. Hubbard is not, I don't know Hubbard well enough, but like I do know that like they're like a radio company and they're like, it's radio is what we're doing. And like I love that. That's awesome. But like if you want to work for like a company that like, is maybe more, focused on the multimedia stuff, you got to do multimedia things. So whether that's social media, YouTube series, podcasts, things like that, you should be doing that anyway, no matter what company you work for. So I think that's just a big focus. So like the fact that you're doing a podcast is great. If somebody out there is doing is on TikTok doing segments or doing like even like things like food reviews or whatever, like it's just like you're already ahead of the curve. You have like developed your personality in some sort of way. Yeah. So keep on developing that personality and that brand and everything. And if you can do that, it's way easier to buy into you than ever anything else.
Then what position do you recommend like starting off in first?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? There's always something, right? Sometimes there's street teams, sometimes there's board hopping, sometimes there's like somebody who's just kind of, I know people that have been like sales assistants that now do like morning shows and stuff like that. It's like any way you can get into, like, just get in the door.
Yeah.
You know, once you're in, you're in. Congrats. You did it. It's the same thing as like getting into a club, man. Like, you know, downtown or something. It's just like, hey, sometimes you just need to like dress a little nice and then like get in there and then they'll be like, all right, cool, you're in. You know, same deal. It's just like, hey, like whatever way you can get into it, do it. You're not going to get on air immediately. If you do, like you either A, know somebody, or B, you're literally the second coming of Ryan Seacrest. Ryan Seacrest started out just like the rest of us did. You know, it's the same thing with like anybody else. Like anybody else in this business who's a big deal. Elvis Duran, you know, name a person. Just name a person in this business. They either started A, in a smaller market, or B, doing board op stuff. And then eventually something happened along the way that they got to where they are now. So it all starts somewhere, man. Everybody's got a different path, but it just matters about getting in the door. Once you have a key card to the office, you're good. You got that. The world is your oyster at that point.
Yeah, I like that. Do you want to share a little bit about the EY and Rach show?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
man. So me and Rach both grew up, funny enough, both grew up in Philadelphia. So Rach and I met through our old boss. She was like, hey, would love to try some stuff out with you. I was like, absolutely. Let's see what we can do. And so we started doing like tape and everything. And eventually would present it to like my boss and like, you know, some of our other people at iHeart. And then they're just like, hey, why don't you guys like try this on the weekends and see how it sounds? And so we started on KDWB and now we're on 3 other markets at this point. So we're on in Cleveland, Cincinnati, and St. Louis. And so this is kind of just, you know, the start. We're in the infant stages, right? This is very early on in what we're doing. And so the goal is to eventually make it a full-time morning show, right? Something that's not just on the weekends, something that's every day, right? Monday through Friday. And we'll get there. I don't know the timeline. You know, it'll be there someday. Today is not that day currently, but tomorrow could be. Maybe it could be, you know, like 3 months, 6 months, a year from now, like whenever. Like it's like we're putting ourselves in the position to do that. And I think that's the same thing with anything else, right? Just like if you want something bad enough in this business, go and do it. Show people you can do it. Yeah. And then eventually they'll be like, hey, go do this for money. And then it's like, cool, let's go. So, yeah.
I like that.
So that's that. So it's a morning show. You know, we just do like some fun stuff. You know, we do dumb segments and everything, do trending news and get people on the radio. And of course, like being in these other markets, we got to learn about the other markets. So like, you know, we obviously, you know, talk about what's going on in Cincinnati and Cleveland and St. Louis. It's easy for me in Minneapolis because I live here. But like, you know, the other markets, it's like I've only been to one of them. I've only been to Cincinnati. So like, I know how Cincinnati works. I have homies in Cleveland, so I can hit them up. St. Louis, I had to kind of learn, you know, and it's like anything else. Like, you kind of got to like learn about these places. And everybody jokes about like, or like not jokes about it, they're pretty serious about it actually. But voice tracking, you know, everybody's like, oh, well, if you voice track, like you're not being local. It's like, no, you can be if you do like the breaks and everything the way that they should be. But, you know, if you're doing, hey, this was, you know, and this was Selena Gomez on, you know, 96.5 Kiss FM. Up next, we have Miley Cyrus. It's like, if that's your show, then that's your own fault. Like, you know, it's like your show should be full of personality and you and your co-host and or yourself, like, you know, make it worth somebody's while. So that's our ultimate goal, is to just like, you know, give that.
I like that.
There's that.
That's awesome. That's an awesome goal. I like it. And then what do you like about getting to do the show with Rachel? Yeah, please.
Rach is the homie, man. She's like the big sister I never had. So, like, you know, she annoys the hell out of me. I annoy the hell out of her. And, like, it's just like this fun little friendship that we developed. I think the best part about it is that, like, we almost know where we're going with things at all times, right? And it's just like we always, whenever we think about, like, what we're talking about or what we're doing and everything, she knows where I want to go with it. And then she knows, I know where she wants to go with it. And, like, I know what direction we're going to be going. So that makes it really easy. We're not afraid to, like, tell each other, like, hey, maybe we do it this way instead. Like, we're not afraid to, like, you know, give each other constructive criticism and, like, you know, kind of like self-correct, if you will. So it makes it easy. But yeah, just as a person, Rach is just such a good person. She's just so cool. And she's just like got this great energy, and like it really balances out kind of like my more like kind of, you know, hipster, loud kind of personality, you know, where it's like I grew up going to like house shows and like, you know, doing like skateboard stuff and just being like, you know, kind of like, for lack of a better term, kind of stoner vibes. And she grew up kind of going to clubs and was a party girl and stuff like that. It's like, here's this conglomeration of people who definitely hung out in different circles, but they create something beautiful together. You know what I mean? So it's kind of cool.
And then a little fun question. What's your favorite ice cream flavor?
Ooh, okay. Full disclosure. I forgot what I said to you last time. So full disclosure to people listening. We had to re-record this. It's okay. It's not like technical difficulties. Things happen. I also looked ugly that day, so we had to fix it. So I think, did I say cookie dough?
I think so.
I think I said cookie dough. Okay, I either said cookie dough or moose tracks. I said moose tracks, and I stand by that. Moose tracks goes crazy. It's just peanut butter and chocolate and stuff. I love peanut butter and chocolate, so for sure.
Awesome.
Cookie dough is a close second. What is yours? Remind me of yours.
Cake batter from Cold Stone, and then the vanilla from Costco.
Yes, there we go. We know we love a high end and a low end option. Fantastic. Yeah. I'm a Ben and Jerry's guy, so like name a Ben and Jerry's pint, I'm in. I'm also I'm severely lactose intolerant, and Ben and Jerry's has like really good like non-dairy options. So I'm sure there's one of those that I've like dominated plenty of times. So it's always good.
That's awesome. I like it. And then what do you think radio will be like in 5 to 10 years?
Damn. I barely even know what it's going to be like next year.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of things changing, right? You know, there's it's always changing. There's always something new, and there's always new technology being made, new apps being created. I mean, they literally just made, like a company just made an AI DJ.
Yeah.
Like you can, like Spotify has AI DJs. Like those are things like, you know, there's multiple companies that are like using like, you know, AI to do what a human being can do. And so ultimately, I think this is wild because, like, I think if you asked me this, like, last year, I would say, like, we'd be, like, hanging on strong and just powering through and whatever. But I think, like, the big thing is that radio is, like how it's, you know, it's the most, I say this with, like, not, you know, trying to be negative. But for years and years, a radio DJ was, like, a local celebrity, was, like, a big deal, right? Like, it was a huge deal that you worked in radio.
Yeah.
Since the dawn of streaming sites and like, you know, the iPod and all that stuff, like you could go even further back than that. Like the relevancy of a radio DJ has decreased every year, and I think now more than ever we're as irrelevant as we've ever been. And so the goal is to make sure we stay relevant. And it's kind of weird because it's like we have to kind of go, you know, through social media and everything like that, and just go in that direction and show you got a personality that way. That's super important. And I think like we're starting to understand that in radio, which is great. Because it took us a long time to do it. But I also think that, like, the only way that radio separates itself from all the other apps is the fact that we have human beings that are on in a city and that are doing things to, like, make people passionate about where they live.
Yeah.
There are people that will never leave where you live in Arizona. There are people that will never leave Minneapolis. There are people who never leave, like, insert place here, right? And then there's people who come into town and want to be like, hey, I don't know what to do here. It's like if you can be a reliable source in that way for somebody, or like somebody who just moved there and everything like that, like that's what matters the most. So like, you know, going back to kind of our roots on air is super important. Off air, it's like everything involving social media. Be on social, be like that, you know, be on top of that stuff and everything. Realistically, like terrestrial radio, I've heard people say this before, like, you know, having like a giant tower that like sends out radio and stuff like that, that's not going to be forever. Like it wasn't forever in the first place. Like, you know, they made like they were so much smaller back in like the 1940s and 50s. It's like you couldn't drive out of a city. You couldn't drive a block and then keep a radio station on, right? It's just like, or things like that. And like AM radio's going away. It's like, so the physical way it's out there is going to change. But like ultimately we have to make sure that people stay passionate about their markets and stay passionate about where they're from, and then in turn get people excited about it on social media and stuff like that. So I think that's the big thing. So I think radio is on its way to change. It's in an evolution phase right now.
Yeah.
But I just need people to like, you know, actually buy into it. And by people, I mean like the people that, you know, like are in charge. That would be really cool. So hopefully that's in the same way. Because like, again, I don't want a robot taking people's jobs.
Yeah.
Like that kind of sucks. Like it's like, I don't know, that sounds awful. So I don't know if that's, you know, the best route.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If that ever happens.
Yeah,
some
it's
reason.
Not good. But hey, it's real. And we have to be honest and be like, hey, it's real, you know? So
yeah. That for some reason ever happens, I was probably still hopefully have my
still
station.
power through, man.
Yeah, hopefully still have my internet station still up, so maybe I'll be the only
Your internet
one.
station's rocking it, bro. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You're doing the right thing. You're just like, you know what? I'm gonna employ myself. Like we got this.
Yeah, crazy that there's like also AMP as well. Amazon created AMP, and that's happening, and Zach is doing an awesome job on there, and what like the interview like he did on like Today Show, like it's awesome that like when the artists like sit down like for interview, they like feel like a real human being and all that, and yeah, that's awesome that like he's doing like an amazing job of what he's doing on the app, and yeah.
Zach is a great example of like people who are doing it right. Like he is a really great example, and there's a lot of people that are doing it right in this business. But we just got to look at them and focus on that, and like be like, hey, it's okay to like look at somebody and be like, hey, I admire what you do. Let me try to like, not emulate it, but let me try to like stay in that realm like you, and Zach does a great job. Brew does a really good job. Like, there's just some really good people out there that do some really good stuff, man. So, it will stay alive. Like radio, like everybody's like, oh, radio's dead or is radio's dying. It's like, no, there's enough. There's people there, as much as these companies want to say the company's creating the robots or whatever, just like, hey, we don't have enough talent. It's like, no, we do. You just need to look a little harder. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's fine. Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
And then who would you like to give a shout out to?
Shout out, I don't know. I'm trying to think. Give me a second. Let me think. Rach, obviously. Shout out to Rach. That's my co-host. Shout out to Rach. She's great. There's so many great people in this business I could give love to. Seriously, Jared Fallon is the first person that ever gave me like love in the business, and so he's great. All my bosses in the past, you know who you are. You guys have been killing it. I appreciate you guys looking out for me. My coaches, you're all fantastic. Trying to think who else like I should give a shout out to. My fiance, she's literally like the person that like I bounce all my ideas off of, and she's incredibly honest when they're bad. So like I love that she's not afraid to like be real with me on that. My dog, shout out Gordy for like the therapy sessions. I don't even do anything. I just kind of talk to her and she just stares at me like this. It's great. She's a great dog. Try and think what else. Shout out to the country of Sweden. It's just really, I heard it's really pretty and everything. And that's it.
I like that. I like the shout out. Awesome.
Yeah, shout out to Sweden. Let's go, Sweden.
Sweden. Right.
Oh, man.
The last and important question, where can everyone follow you and listen to you?
Okay, so E White on the mic. That is E like the letter, White like the color on the MIC. You can also follow me and Rach at E White and Rach Show. Rach is just RACH. I'm on 6 to 11 now, so I have one less hour, but that's okay because I got to go to bed earlier. 6 to 11 on KDWB, and then I do weekends all across iHeartRadio stations. Austin, Denver, name a city. I've probably been on it, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Cool to say that. And then, me and Rach, we have a podcast as well you can find on the same place. So,
awesome.
Man. Yeah.
And then would you be down tell everyone subscribe and leave a review and all that?
Yes. Okay.
Awesome.
Hi. What's up? Gonna hard cam it here. What's good? Hello. It's E White. I do radio and stuff on iHeartRadio. This is Jacob. Jacob does a really sick podcast called On the Mic. So what you should do is you should probably subscribe. You should probably leave a comment and a review. And then you should just keep on tuning in. So that way you can have like more cool people like me and all the other people that Jacob has hung out with before. You should just like see what's up. Yeah, we out here.